That was a smack in the face. Like, I'm gonna have to redo everything. I've done this my whole life, and I can't even do 2 push-ups. Like, I died, basically, and was trying to struggle to come back to life. You gotta have a strong backbone. You gotta have been raised on, like, some morals, too, to not break under that pressure.
Hi, and welcome to the Finding Balance podcast. I am your host, Dr. Adrian Mesa. Today, I had the pleasure of having boxing coach, model, and motorcycle enthusiast Cameron Adams on the podcast. Cam's enthusiasm and appreciation of life comes from the fact that he literally rose from the dead after suffering from a horrible motorcycle accident. It was a pleasure to have him on, and I hope you guys enjoy. You just said your mom's a psychotherapist.
My mom is a psychotherapist. So my mom, you know the joke, like, yeah, your mom goes to college. Your mom went to college. Yeah, my mom went back to college when I was in college. So it's pretty cool. My brother kind of fell in those footsteps of her. And let's see, but he had to take I'm just gonna go. Go off. So my brother actually he's on his 2nd year sober. He was in rehab in where did they put him in rehab? In Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was in rehab for a year and a half, 2 years. Now he's 2 years sober. Which is cool because he's a totally different person. I know my brother prior to sobriety, and then I know my brother sober, and it's a totally different person.
Why? In what way would you say he was different? What was his life like prior to sobriety, and then what has his life been like since treatment?
Let's see. Where do I start with him? My brother, he it wasn't that he was, he didn't fit in. He was athletic, into sports. He just was like a little bit quirky. He didn't fit in like with the popular crowd, and everybody was always comparing him to me. Everybody's like, you're Cam's little brother. So he never was able to develop his own, persona. Mm-hmm. I feel like maybe. And then, went to college, and then I joined a fraternity. I was the pledge class social chair and president, so I held like higher positions. And then when your brother goes through, they harass him a little bit more. Mm-hmm. The pledging process at Ohio State is like pretty. You go through a lot with it.
What are some things that they do to you while you're pledging for a fraternity?
It's like there's not only just like physical, like, if you go to, I don't even know what the weekly meeting is called. I can't even remember. Like that whole thing is like a glip in my memory. Mm-hmm. But my brother, I'm going back to my brother. He went through it. But when you're pledging, you're going through like abuse, not only just physically. Like you're staying in the frat house, staying up all night, multiple days in a row. You're trying to keep your studies in line. They're wanting you to party and drink like all the time, and then going through the whole process. Like when you go through those weekly meetings, you have to memorize all the stuff, and then if you don't get it right, you're harassed. They call you names. They throw beers at you, like. So you're standing as like a freshman in front of like a whole fraternity, and they're all drunk, and they're like berating you. So my brother got it pretty hard, and I think that probably was part of like that slide into alcoholism. Fraternities are big for drinking and partying and everything else under the sun. So I think he. Like I said, I think he just got it really hard. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't, hadn't figured himself out yet. So I think, that, drinking was an easy way to,
It's an escape.
Yeah.
How did you see him? Like what? Again, so what were some of the things that he was experiencing in his life as a result of the alcoholism?
Honestly, I mean, he's a bright kid.
Yeah.
Like, he's super bright. I remember coming home from school and I was struggling and struggling to get B's. you know, and my brother is coming home playing video games, doesn't study at all, aces the test. And my parents are like, you know, like what? Like what? You know, like Colin's ace and all this stuff. Like, what's up? I'm like, yeah, I'm trying. I'm up until midnight studying for my tests. And I'm just like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. He's gifted. Like, he's got that bright, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and you could be the brightest person in the world, but if you start falling into the world of alcoholism, it'll definitely impact you negatively.
Yeah.
And so I'm assuming that you saw some changes in his personality. Maybe did he get into any legal trouble or?
Let's see.
And if you don't want to talk about this, we could jump. It's fine.
No,
It's cool.
no, I totally understand. Like I'm totally open. My brother's very chill now, like on a totally different kick.
Yeah.
Gosh, I remember I was already gone. I was out of the house at this point. I had moved to New York, or I was somewhere else and overseas. I think the major, like, when it happened, it was post my accident. That was when my parents found out. So my parents got like slammed 2 years in a row, and my brother is drinking every day. My mom's finding trash bags of beer cans, White Claws, bottles in his room. And he's getting his master's in psychology and psychotherapy. I'm just like I said, he's bright. He was able to drink all the way through and pass everything, but it got too serious, and he got to the point where, you know, they had to put him in rehab because it was too far gone.
So you weren't really involved in his life when he was. You said you were away.
I've been gone since I was 20. I would come back to Ohio like once a year, but I left at 20 to New York. And back then I didn't really notice anything. You know, my brother was in college. I had dropped out after my sophomore year. And so back then it was like, you're in a frat, you know, you're drinking with the boys, drinking with the boys all the time, you know? But I didn't notice. And then I was out, and I was all over the time zones of the planet, like, you know, everywhere. And my brother and I we never really were super close until, like, we're the closest we've ever been now. But before, we would like check in, we would share music. So I didn't know like how bad or what he was going through. And my parents really had no idea until, like I said, a couple of years ago after my accident. Then it like really took a turn. And he was still managing to get his master's, and but then they would find like there would be this thing, that thing. Like my mom, you know, your mom always knows. They have like an inkling. Like my dad working kind of was just like, okay, hearing my mom out. And then, gosh, where did it turn? Accident happened. He still was super, you know, driven with things. Like he set up a GoFundMe that raised like $50,000 while I was in the hospital, you know, talking to everybody, dealing with the stress of that, dealing with like the pressure of my parents and his masters and everything, you know? So he was able to handle it really well. But then at a certain point, it just, you know, he called me. I remember this was like about a year after my accident. He called me and he was like, hey, Cam. I'm like, hey, Colin, what's up? Or I would say, hey, Bud. Call him Bud. And he was like, I gotta tell you something. I was like, tell me. And so he was like, I'm here with one of my friends, and she thinks that, you know, I need help. I was like, okay. So like, what's up? What's going on? And he was like, I have a drinking problem. I was like, okay. Like, how bad? Like, how bad is it? He's like, yeah, I can't stop drinking. I'm like drinking all day. And, you know, I wake up, I drink. I drink till I go to sleep or till I pass out. Finds time to study, manage, work a little bit in between. And so he was like, I don't know how to tell mom and dad. I don't know what to do. I was like, let me talk to them first and tell them to like break the ice with them so that they can handle it. They can sleep on it. And then you can call him the next day. So that night I called him and I was like, look, Colin called me. Like he thinks he has a drinking problem, or he knows he has a drinking problem. And I was like, just sleep on it, like think it through. And my mom was like, I knew it. Like I knew it. So I was like, yeah, but give him like sleep on it. Now you have the information. Now you know what's going on. Sleep on it. And then tomorrow, I told him to reach out to you guys. So that kind of all happened. My parents had him move back at home in Cincinnati. And then, let's see. And then they were like, yeah, well, he can do it here. So he was, working. My parents were like, he had access to the car. They were like, okay, he's got to go to work. He's working, and then comes back home, and they thought like it was under control. They could control it. They were monitoring him all the time, and somehow he was managing to slip in drinks and get it in, And then it came to a head where like they found him. He was like passed out behind a gas station, or something. And the cops were there with him, and my parents had to go like pick him up, like, and that was like all right, we need to get him like serious help. So they put him in this facility out in like this rehab out in Prescott, Arizona, and that was good for him. It's a total sober community, so no matter whether it's alcohol or drugs or whatever else you're caught up in. And that really helped him like be around, in a sober living community. Everybody's sober, everybody's battling something. So it gives you like another perspective, and then you're working with a therapist. So, I think it was tough because he's psychoanalyzing himself.
Of course.
But yeah, now he's good. Now he's like a ray of light. I've never seen him so happy, like every day, all day. I was like, I don't know you, dude. Who are you? But it's cool. It's actually amazing.
Do you know what population he's working with now?
He was actually working with kids that were struggling with alcoholism.
There you go.
Stuff like that.
So interesting how so many of us end up kind of facing our demons head on. Something that debilitates you then becomes your strength, and you're able to turn around and help other people that are struggling with the same issues.
Yeah.
And because now you have a lived experience, you feel better equipped because you can relate and you can empathize and you can have compassion for the person sitting across from you and say, hey, I know what you're going through.
Yeah.
And needless to say, regardless, like it doesn't mean I have to go through the exact same, like for me to work with somebody who's recovering from alcoholism doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be somebody who's also in recovery.
Yeah.
Although oftentimes it is with the addiction community, with people who work with people who are who work with substance abuse. I'm just a firm believer that all of us have been through something at some point, right? And if you can have compassion and empathy for the person sitting across from you without being judgmental, then you can help.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's what he's doing, I'm sure that's cool. And a lot of times that feels like your calling. It feels like that is what is driving you. That is where your sense of purpose comes from. So it's pretty cool that your brother, thank God, right? Thank God that your brother's overcome. Thank God that he's had a strong support system, that your parents were there for him, and that he was able to find a sober community to help him through it. Yeah. It's pretty dope.
Yeah. It's
so
amazing.
You mentioned your accident multiple times. There's no spoiler alerts here. I want you to kind of walk me through this accident. Okay. And how it impacted you. What was your life like before, and what was the result of the accident afterwards?
Okay.
No pressure.
No, no pressure. Spotlight on. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, the accident, it's funny, this is like a totally different way of talking about it here. I'm flattered to be here on this podcast with you.
Well, let
that
me
you
just
asked me
say first and foremost that I didn't even know who you were, right?
on.
I just approached you in anatomy 2 or 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
because I had already been following you,
Yeah.
and I had just seen you popping up everywhere. I went to Lionheart. I worked with CJ. We did a little event there, and I was like, okay, this is a dude named Cam. No idea who he is. Cool. Then I see an ad for like Rumble or for a different gym. I think you're Rumble, Gotham, Anatomy, Lionheart. Anywhere else? And then you do privates, right?
Privates,
So
yeah.
you're a boxing coach.
Yeah.
So I kept on seeing you pop up, and I'm like, who's this guy? And then I saw you at the gym, and I said, what's up to you? And I told you the same thing. I was like, hey, Cam, you're everywhere. What's up with you? And then you started telling me about how you walk sometimes now because your bike was broken or whatever the hell was going on.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that in a second. But I was just really impressed with your character, with how much exposure you were getting just from doing the work.
Yeah.
So I'm honored to have you here. And then on top of that, you posted a reel talking about the accident. So we'll get back to that now.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like, whoa, like I need to hear this guy's story. And I think there's no better place to do it here because now I get to share it. We get to share it with whoever wants to listen. So it's pretty dope.
Yeah. No, this is awesome. It's a cool platform to speak on, you know.
Thanks, man.
I spoke on a panel, but this has a greater reach. The panel was like 100 people. This is cool because, you know, we can spread this everywhere.
Dope, man.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit, again, back to the question I asked you about the accident. What was life like before what happened, and then what was life like afterwards?
So before, like leading up to the accident, I was living on the edge already. I was coaching a million classes. I was training some clients, but there was a gym called Fight Club. They actually just demolished it. Brayman bought it. But it was like a grungy, the classroom, no AC, like 80 bags, 80 to 100 bags. We would have on, prime time on Monday, and then on Saturdays, the back-to-back classes, the 10 and the 12, we would have like anywhere from 80 to 100 people in front of you. Like no AC, no mic, a whistle, and you're yelling and then demoing and you're sweating your life away. It was a vibe. Like, honestly, like no matter how grungy and dirty it was, everybody just loved it because it was no frills. It was cool. Yeah, so I was coaching. Everybody left. A bunch of the trainers left, and then they went to another gym that's, a couple blocks away. Even the management from Fight Club left and went there. So, like, nobody was there. The owner was he was kind of a piece of work, in a nice way. And so they went over there, and I didn't want to go over there. The vibe didn't really fit for me. And so I kind of took advantage. I was like, yo, I'll coach. He had nobody else. I was like, I'll coach them all. I'll coach all the classes. So I was coaching, there was one other trainer, one other coach. He would coach a couple. But I was coaching some days 5 classes in that hot box. When I say hot box, I mean I'm sweating through a pair of shoes coaching one class. So then sometimes I bought 3 other pairs of shoes just for the classes,
to swap them out.
Yeah, I'm gonna run through a pair. I want to put on some fresh shoes for the next class. Run through it again. It was great, but it was a vibe. I was I would get a high after that class from just coaching it, being in front of that many people, and it was just raw and everybody's yelling and you hear the bags hitting. It was cool. But back to it, I was coaching all those classes, and then I was partying on the weekends. Usually twice a week, and then I was just running through it. I was living on the edge for so long.
When you say partying, what do you mean?
I would go out, I would go out hard though. I would go out, party, drink a lot, go out late till probably 4 a.m. That would be weekend nights. During the week, there's no way that would have happened.
Gotcha.
But weekend nights, Friday, Saturday, I would usually go out both nights. I was just living, And but but I was making good money because I was coaching all those classes.
Yeah.
But it was like, yo, you need to recover at some point, dude. And then it was just like that. Then I just hit the wall. I ended up getting in that accident.
So what kind of? So you've said the accident so many times. What accident? I know it happened on the Venetian Causeway. What was the accident?
I was coming back from meeting some friends, and I was coming back on the Venetian Bridge. And back then they didn't have. Back then, it'll be 4 years in March. But then it was they had they always have the bike lane there, but they had now they have the bumpers. They have the bumpers, so not only is the car noticing, but like if you're on a motorcycle, you can't cross it into the bike lane to cut around a car.
Gotcha.
But back then they didn't. There was no bumpers, so I would just, if the car was going 20 miles per hour, I'm gonna go on the bike lane instead of going in oncoming traffic. I'm gonna cut in the bike lane and I'm gonna zip past and then I'm gonna cut right back in, and everything's cool. It was like 2 a.m. There was a bicyclist there riding in the middle of the night, and I didn't even notice that he was there. I didn't see him, clipped him, and then lost control of the bike. The bike went flying. I wasn't wearing a helmet, and that is like, that could go 2 ways, which is crazy. Not wearing the helmet, now they've made motorcycle helmets like the one that I have right now, super light. They're super durable, super strong, and they're light. 4 years ago, motorcycle helmets, like, for a sport bike, they're heavy, a lot of padding, made out of like heavier materials to make it durable. So if I had that on, I had ended up having a C2, C3 fracture in my neck. There's a chance that if I had that on, I could have, broken my neck fully with the weight of the whiplash. But no helmet. Split the top of my head open. I was like bleeding out, heart flatlined. So luckily they got there in time. Because, then after 5 minutes, that's what somebody told me. After 5 minutes, your body's system starts shutting down organs and other vital functions. So they, in that 5-minute window after me flatlining, they were able to restart my heart, get me stable enough to be able to rush me to Jackson.
So they actually resuscitated you. Do you know if it was on the street or in the ambulance? But it was before heading back to the hospital.
Yeah, it was before heading back to the hospital. And I was a big guy back then. Yeah. I mean, I'm 190 now. I was 215.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that also like braced the impact. My body was able to handle it. But they had to break like 5 or 6 of my ribs to like get to my heart.
Yeah, when they were doing chest compressions. That's pretty common.
Yeah. I think with everybody.
Yeah.
And then got me back to stable and then rushed me to Jackson. Thankfully, Jackson is great for trauma.
Yeah. So you go to Jackson Trauma Center. How long when do you actually come to? How many days after the accident did you realize, oh shit, I'm alive? I was in a horrible accident. When you came to, what was going on around you? How did you reorient yourself?
Yeah, I mean, so they put me in a coma. They put me in a coma because my brain was so swollen and I was having bleeding up there, and that, they were like, if there's any more bleeding, he's not going to make it. So they induced me into a coma. I was in the coma for, 6 days. Coma for 6 days. And then when they brought me back to, I don't have new memories for about 2 weeks. So I was apparently awake in the hospital talking to my parents, and they were like, so relieved that I was. The doctors never told my parents that they induced me into the coma. So my parents were like, well, hopefully he wakes up. Like, they just assumed it, like they were like just waiting, and then And then, after 6 days, they brought me back too. And gosh, I was like a loose cannon. I was all over the place. I was running my mouth. I have a little bit of a filter. I don't really have a huge filter as a person anyways.
Okay.
But like this was like another level. It came in, it was a thought and it came out of my mouth. Like nothing. And so thinking about it, my mom was like relieved that you were so funny because you were just like the wildest things you were saying. Like, we found like a silver lining of hope, like of happiness in that time where we were so sad. She was like, the stuff that was coming out of your mouth was just having us in tears laughing. So that was good. But yeah, after coming to, I was in rehab for a little while. I had the biggest thing was relearning basic like motor functions and stuff like that.
Tell me a little bit about that. You lose function. You're somebody who's very physical.
Yeah.
You're training people to hit bags. You've been boxing for how many years of your life?
8 years.
So then all of a sudden, it's shut off.
Yeah.
And now you're forced to relearn. What does that feel like when your brain is telling your body to move a certain way and it's not happening?
It was frustrating, is what it was. I was, because I was in a neck brace. Still, I was in a neck brace in the hospital. I was in a neck brace for 6 months after that till my neck fully healed, C2, C3 fracture. And I knew like if I could work out, like I could get back quicker. Like I could get back to normal. I could get back to functioning more normally. So like not being able to like train or do anything, I just had to be a couch potato for like 6 months. I was like, that's what you're telling me? Like, and that was driving me mad in itself. And working out, I mean, as you know, like it's therapy for everybody.
For sure.
It's a dopamine release in your brain, like all, you get like, it makes you feel good.
Of course.
All this feel good endorphins, chemicals in your body. That reaction, I couldn't take advantage of it. So for me, that was the hardest part, like just being sedentary. I didn't even have to like go back to like coaching at that point. I was like, let me just work out. Mm-hmm. I just want to work out. I'm going crazy. But yeah, and then from there, like I just had to focus on my brain because that was the only option. So I was like, I was in therapy. I was going down to therapy at Baptist because the therapy was a little bit better.
What were the therapy sessions like for you?
I remember I went in and I did speech therapy and I did speech and occupational.
So it's more fine. So speech, why speech though? Because the brain injury had affected you so much that you were having difficulty talking, or
like I could speak. It was definitely a little bit slower. Mm-hmm. But it was okay. So I remember the first day that I went in there. I went in and she told me like a story about Joe Schmo, whatever. And okay, Joe has a cat and blah blah blah, mm-hmm. all the stuff about him, red car. And then at the end of the session, they're only like 30 minutes. End of the session, she's like, "All right, tell me about the guy." I couldn't even remember the dude's name. I couldn't even remember his name. So I was like, she's like, "Do you remember any details?" And then she's like, "Do you remember what color car he had or like, what pet?" And I was like, "Nothing. Blank. Absolutely nothing." So that to me was like, oh wow. I can't remember anything. My memory is gone. This is going to come back. And then right after that session, I went to occupational. So it's a 30-minute and then a 30-minute, just in different rooms. Occupational, the thing that I remember the most from occupational probably is like they gave me directions to bake a cake. No, it was banana bread. To make banana bread, and they had I had all the stuff in front of me. They have like this like kitchen in there, and so you take the egg, crack the egg, like do all this stuff, and then make the banana bread. And like I remember all the ladies in the office being like so excited, like, is he gonna make the banana bread? Because they just wanted to eat it.
Yeah. They're not worried about you getting better. They're just like, we're hungry.
They're like, can you hurry up, bro?
Yeah.
Come on, let's go. So so like occupational was definitely more like just motor skills, stuff like that. But I was going to that for multiple months just to get back to like normal. And then it got to the point where speech therapy was like not as important, and then it was more so like the occupational motor skills, stuff like that.
Gotcha. Do you remember physical therapy when you were learning to walk again?
I don't remember even learning to walk. Like I have the video on my Instagram.
Oh, okay.
But I don't even remember that. I don't remember like them like walking me down, down the hallway at the hospital. You
suffered a traumatic brain injury. That's what happened, and so that's why when you mentioned things like the funny and impulsive things that you were saying, you had damage to your frontal lobe. Your frontal lobe is kind of what controls. That's that filter, right? Because you're able to really have some judgment. Right. And that's where you're like, oh, no, don't say this in this situation. You're at a bar, you're having drinks. The frontal lobe is kind of shut down a little bit. You can be a little bit loose maybe around your friends when you're in a frat. Yeah. But then all of a sudden you have this traumatic brain injury. You have the swelling. You have the trauma. And now you don't have that impulse control. Maybe you see a nurse that walks in. She's young and she looks good. And you won't think twice and you smack her on the ass. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe something like that happened.
I'm sure that happened multiple times.
And so it's also common with frontal lobe dementia. You'll see an elderly man. This is a state board test question where there's an elderly man. The grandma comes in, starts reporting the behaviors of her husband. And she tells you about a scenario where they went to the mall. And then she found the grandfather sitting at a table trying to flirt with young women. And it's like, what might be the diagnosis, And it's like frontal lobe dementia. So it's just funny that it's crazy to experience that. I'm sure it sucks that you can't remember it, but I'm sure if I asked your mom or your father, they'd be here just telling stories for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool, man. And so, yeah, it's bizarre to know that you had to learn to walk again. And still how long was it before you walked after the accident,
I don't even know, actually.
Yeah, so it's probably a period of time where you just completely don't have the memories because there was no recall.
Yeah, I was just sedentary in that bed most of the time. Yeah, because I had broken so much stuff. I broke my wrist. I had broken my clavicle. And then obviously I broke my skull wide open.
How long was it before? So how long was it until you were actually training again?
I got the neck brace off 6 months after. I asked the doctor. I remember being in the hospital and like they just did all the scans. They scanned my neck. They were like, "You're good to go." They just came in, "You're good to go." I was like, "Really?" So they're like, they took it off, and I'm like, "So I can pitch this thing? I don't need this." Like, "Yeah, you're good to go." I was like, "How good to go though? Like, is there a but you can't do?" Yeah. I was like, "Can I put headgear on and get punched in the head?" that was the telltale. Like, "Yo, okay, it's good."
Yeah.
They were like, "Yeah, you can do whatever you want." I was like, "No way, it's fully healed, sweet." So then that day, I actually went to Fight Club, and I went and I worked out. You
tried.
Let's not call it a workout. Let's not call it a workout. I tried to work out. I could do maybe 2 push-ups, and I was just like, wow, that was a smack in the face. Like I was like, dang, I'm gonna have to redo everything. I've done this my whole life. I've done training my whole life. And I can't even do 2 push-ups.
For every day that a patient is laying in bed, I think they lose like 2% of their muscle mass.
Oh, cow.
Yeah, it's a huge percentage. For every day that you lay there, the atrophy that occurs is like quick.
Whoa.
What it takes you months to build up to, you'll lose it in days.
That's wild.
Which is bizarre. Now, you could still recover and come back, especially if you're somebody who has been active.
Yeah.
But the amount of loss that you experience, it's pretty impressive.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a hot minute to get
Yeah. So I'm sure that first workout you were just gassed.
Yeah. Right. I was like 30 minutes now. Okay, we're done.
What did you learn from that accident?
Honestly, like it took me, it took me a minute to like really, like for that stuff that I learned from it to set in. You know, it wasn't like I recovered and then it was like, all right, wow, I learned this, I learned all this stuff. Like, all right, I'm a better person for it. No, it was like even though I was back coaching classes, my fuse was like minute. I was like non-existent. And I had no empathy. That was a weird part of it, really. That I had no empathy. Like
So it was like irritability, anger control, and just like apathetic, like not really.
yeah. The weird part was too that I remember telling my parents, like, I don't know, I was like, I know I'm supposed to care like about you guys. I know I'm supposed to like feel love. But I didn't feel anything. It's not like I felt depressed. Like I was just like, whatever, la-di-da-di-da every day, that type of thing, like I couldn't work yet, really. I was just trying to get physically back in shape so I could, be back. I was still in therapy then too after the neck brace got off. But I was like, I remember telling them, like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, why do I not, like, if I think about you passing away, like, why do I not feel anything? I was like, in my heart, I don't feel anything. I was like, that's weird to me. That sounds like psychopathic, you know? You know what I mean? Sounds like a psychopath. But then eventually it came back.
Were you on medications or anything that were kind of numbing what you were feeling?
Yeah, I was on, gosh, I know, I mean, you can ask to be off of anything that they give, that they put on you. So one of the ones that really had threw me for a loop was gabapentin, the nerve blocker.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's like a small amount of people that have a really bad reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had everything. I had like massive swells, pimples on my body, like painful. And I was a nut.
Do you remember if they had you on gabapentin? Was it for pain? Was it was it for seizures? Do you know why you were on gabapentin or not really? Maybe
really
for
don't
mood
know.
stabilization, because you did say you were having these ups and downs in your mood.
Yeah, but that was what made me like that. The gabapentin threw me off.
Okay.
Like the gabapentin was making me like, I was like slightly, I've always been happy, but I was like slightly like riled up one time that I was like threatening to jump off the balcony, So I was like, that stuff was having a weird reaction for me. I know it's a very slim, it's not, it's very rare that it gets that extreme, but yeah, I had like all the symptoms of it. I was like, I need to get off this.
Yeah, just for people who are listening, gabapentin can be used for what's called neuropathic pain. So any deep nervous system pain. Sometimes when diabetics, they lose feeling in their periphery, and then they get this very deep pain also. They might put them on gabapentin. Seizure prevention, they could put you on gabapentin. Okay. And then also just as a mood stabilizer. So if you're having these mood fluctuations where you're up and down, sometimes with patients with bipolar disorder, anger issues, or severe anxiety, they could use gabapentin. But just like anything, there's side effects. And for you probably just had what's called a paradoxical response, where you're having the opposite reaction, where it's making you angry, it's making you irritable. Like I said, it's a medication. There's side effects. Not everybody responds the same.
Yeah.
Any other medications you remember being on?
No, actually, I don't really remember what else. I remember, I just know in the hospital, I was like, look, I don't want to be on much stuff. Like, my parents were like, yeah. And I had a friend there, and I was just like, they were like, yeah, like, he's like, he doesn't like to take anything. He doesn't even like to take Advil. Like, that's how I've been, Like, if I have a headache, like, I'm not going to take Advil. Like, I'm just going to deal with it how can I naturally help that? You know, I'm probably dehydrated, so I'm gonna have electrolytes. I'm not just gonna drink water, like stuff like that. Yeah.
So I know you said it took you a while before you learned anything. What did you learn, or
So
what came through as a result of the accident?
I learned how to like just slow down a little bit. You know, I was going so fast. I was not present at all. I was just focused on the next thing and the next thing, and everybody knew that about me. Like when I would stop at like my friend's juice bar, they would be like, I would grab a ginger shot, and then I would be like out the door, and like that's like what they knew. They were like, Cam's just on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. So I had no time to like be present with not only myself but like other people, you know? Like so for me that was like, dang, like it's like your body just moving through time, like not picking up anything. So, you know, the accident after I went through the therapy and everything, I actually picked up meditation. I had this app and I had paid for it and I never was using it. You know, I paid like a yearly subscription to it. It's called Waking Up. I have it. I still use it. But I did that, and that actually helped me a lot. Like because I was coaching 6 a.m. classes at Fight Club because they didn't think I was going to be able to coach anything, you know. So I would wake up and I would do meditation. So that was new that I picked up after the accident, after I like leveled out. But, you know, I learned to just slow down and meditate and like take things presently as they come. And then it also just, you know, the accident just kind of like, I used to be even when I talk to people now and they're like, you're so like calm, like how are you not riled up? Like my bike issue, speaking back on the bike, like I got back on the bike. I had one bike that I bought. And then, you know, that was continually in the shop. It was bleeding me dry of money. And so I was like, God, this is a nightmare. Like, I need this to get around. And then, you know, I was like, all right, let me just pull the trigger, get one like from the shop that I got my bike that I had the accident on. So I went back up there, I talked to the guy, this guy Leo. He's awesome, the owner of the shop. So I was like, look, dude, I want to get another bike. Like, I trust you guys. You know, Miami is a city of, you know, scammers, like people, you know, you don't know what you're gonna get. You know what I mean?
This is the what do you call it? This is what we have to live up to. This is what we're known as. This is scam capital of the world. I was born and raised here, so it sucks to think that somebody who comes here from abroad all of a sudden realizes like, yeah, this is not a good place. You can't trust people around here. Damn it! What kind of a reputation? People step up, man. Step up. Let's do right. Just do right.
Yeah, do right. Do the right thing.
It's great.
But so I got the bike from him, and they were like, yo, you're going to get back on it. Like, all right. They're like, we remember all the stuff, like, because, you know, the bike community, they had heard, you know, from my parents, everything. I had gone back to the shop to, like, get certain papers or whatever. And they're super supportive, but they were like, all right, yeah, like, when you ride bikes, like, when you really love them, like, you're going to get back on it eventually, you know? Now, if I had kids and I'm in Miami, okay, bike's retired. And I don't have kids right now. You know, I'm definitely a lot more level. But the you know, the kind of went off on a tangent here, but the bike, like, you know, for me is, you know, it was one thing after another with the bike. And even then when I got the bike from them, it was an old bike, but like it had no problems. You know, it was a used one. It was the same exact bike that I had the accident on. It was a 2007 MV Augusta Brutale 910. Same one, but I got it in black. They had a black one. So I was like, I'm going to get that. So I was not paying a lot monthly. You know, it was super reasonable. And then it was just like one thing after another with that. I was like, dude, what is going on?
So
like,
you didn't have any apprehension about getting back on the bike and being back on the road?
No.
Never, not one moment did you
Honestly, when I was back, like when I had the neck brace off, I was like, I want to get back on the bike. I was like, I want to get back on it, dude. I miss it. Like I remember one of my buddies like came over and he had like one of those mini bikes, not like a proper motorcycle, but you know they have the Groms. I call it Grom. Honda makes them, but they he was like, do you want to get on it? And I was like, oh man, yeah, I do, bro, I do. So he's like, all right, hop on. I was like, okay. So I get on the bike and I like look at him and I'm like, dude, like, how do I start it again? Like I couldn't remember. He was like, pop the clutch, you know, get in first and then
put in first, hit the gas.
Hit the gas, release the clutch, hit the gas. I was like, all right. And then so I did it, and then I just rode off. It literally like hyper speed came back into my brain. I was like, sweet. So I rode it down the street, rode it down the block a couple times, like came back. I was like, dude, thank you. Like that was like, it rewired in my brain. Like it was like in that moment I felt it rewired. So it was cool.
That's the opposite of what happened to me. I was 22. I got rear-ended by a drunk driver. I had a Honda Shadow 2000. I don't even know what year it was. On a motorcycle, calling it a night. I'm waiting to make a left to turn into my mom's house at the time. And all of a sudden, in my rear view, I just see this guy's not slowing down. And I'm waiting for the oncoming car to pass me by. And before you know it, I was like, oh, I'm going to get hit. Popped it in the first, started to accelerate. Oh. So at least the bike, boom, took the impact. All I remember is flying in the air, and I'm watching this beautiful bike that I just spent a lot of money on, sliding on the side. There's sparks flying, and my uncle had insisted that I get a shield because it was a cruiser.
Yeah.
And I just remember that everything's in slow motion. The glass is kind of shattering and exploding in the air. Dude. The sparks are flying, and then next thing I know, I hit the ground, I roll, and then I'm kind of stunned. And the first thing that happens is the dude that hit me is a Cuban guy. I'm Cuban, so I can say whatever I want right now. And he gets out of the car, and in Spanish, he's saying, por favor, no llamas la policía. Interpret that. Please don't call the cops.
Yeah.
I jumped up, and I was like, fuck you. Right? And I'm ready to fight this guy.
I bet you're steamed.
You're steamed. Adrenaline is going, right? And all of a sudden, my mom's neighbor is a lady who's very active. There's a Catholic church called St. Benedict right there, a block away. Yeah. This lady's very active. The priest is always at her house. So when she comes out, I'm still yelling at the guy, telling him to go fuck himself, right? So she comes over and she calms me down. She says, no, I'm 22, but she's telling me, los niños buenos no dicen mala palabra. So the good kids don't say bad words. So I take some deep breaths. I sit down on the side of the road. When the ambulance pulls up, they're like, hey, can you stand up? Cam, I stood up and fell flat. No. Bam, right back down. Because I had landed so hard on my hip that I guess in my mind, I thought, yeah, of course I could stand up. As soon as I stood,
in shock.
Poof. Next thing I know, I'm in the ambulance. My legs are shaking. And they're just trying to keep me calm. But my whole body is just fucking trembling.
No kidding.
No helmet. Luckily, I didn't hit my head. Nothing happened to me. Just a huge bruise on my ass. And the doctor, the ER doctor told me the same thing. He's like, you're lucky you work out. I was bigger then too. Yeah. And he's like, you're lucky you work out because otherwise you probably would have shattered your hip. And then, so the reason I say the opposite reaction happened to me was maybe my uncle had a GSXR 750.
Gixxer.
Yeah, a Gixxer. So I jump on it, and he tells me the same thing. Hey, you want to ride? So I say, sure. And I get on it, and I take it around the block. Wow, I hit a stop sign. And in that stop sign, in the intersection, all of a sudden I hear tires, brakes. No. You know what my reaction was? My reaction was to duck my head, close my eyes, and prepare for impact.
Bro.
And when I looked up, and it was a car crossing this way. So Cam, what I did was I took the bike, I turned around, took it back to my uncle, let it go, and it was the last time I've ever ridden a motorcycle.
No way.
I've never ridden again, man. I just have no desire. I used to love that feeling. Jump on the highway, start hitting it. You feel free. You can float
It's
around in
free,
traffic.
bro. Yeah.
But risk reward, man. Risk reward. That balance is a little bit tipped for me, and I just didn't want to experience that ever again. So I said, you know what? Let me just retire. Maybe if I go out, maybe if you take me somewhere out in the middle of Ohio where there's no traffic, somewhere out there, I'll ride. But here in Miami, I won't.
Yeah.
I won't.
I respect that though. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I respect that. Because for me, it was like dang. Yeah, like, should I do this?
You're like, let's go.
Yeah, but it's also like for me a mode of transportation because I'm all over the city.
Yeah.
You know.
So actually, let's talk about that. So you're all over the place, right?
Yeah.
How are you getting around? When I met you a couple weeks ago, how were you getting around?
I was, gosh, it was Ubers, which, you know, everybody that lives in Miami knows Uber is extremely overpriced, no matter how far you're going. But if you're going like a short distance, you can, like, if I'm going from downtown where I live over to South Beach, Sunset Harbor, so not far, you know, some days that's like $30, $35. And then if I'm going there and then I got to go down to Lionheart, CJ's gym, that some days, like at that time, because I'll have a 7 to 8 and then I have a 9 a.m. at Lionheart. So that time, bro, $40, $45.
So wait, you're living on the beach?
No.
Where are you living?
I'm in downtown.
Oh, in downtown.
So downtown to the beach for Gotham.
Oh.
At 7, I have 2 7 a.m. classes there. So Tuesday, I go there 7 a.m. I got to the point where I was running there some days because I was like, yo, this is ballistic. I'm spending, like, I'm not even going to say it, like how much money I was spending in a week on Uber.
Yeah.
Like you can do the numbers in your head. You can imagine. And I was just like, this is in no way sustainable. Like, this is not okay. Like, so, I was just like, all right, what am I going to do? So I would run, I started running.
Yeah, you told me you were running from Anatomy to Lionheart, right?
Yeah. Well, I would take the tri-rail. Which I had never really ridden the tri-rail until like not having the bike. But the tri-rail was pretty cool. Like, I was like, yeah, this is great actually. Like, 250 and I can get all over the city. I mean, close to the destination that I need to get to.
The metro rail, not the tri-rail.
Yeah. Well, around downtown, yeah, that's great. But like, the tri-rail takes me straight to Lionheart, and then I jog like, a couple blocks down to Anatomy, jog back to the tri-rail, take the tri-rail back to downtown. So it was getting me around, and then just to South Beach. South Beach is like 3.5 miles from downtown. So I would just buckle up on my backpack and just rip it over to South Beach, run over there,
I don't know anybody else who's physically running from job to job besides you. So
it was a little bit much,
Much respect though, either way. I mean, where that just shows you where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You said, this is my duty, this is my responsibility. I'm gonna get there, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
So
and everybody's blessed with a body, Like I'm blessed. Like that was what I would like remind myself. Like, look, I'm blessed to have like 2 really great legs that I can run on. Like, let me like be grateful for it and use them.
Wow.
So I did that, but now I got the bike back. So
awesome. So you can run a little bit less.
Yeah.
So tell me, I know you've been a globetrotter for a while, right? And you've been to many countries. Tell me a little bit about just where you've been and what took you there.
So I, growing up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then going to college and just not knowing what I wanted to do. And then I, switching majors, switching schools. I was like lost. Like I was like, man, I don't know that I want to do like business like everybody else in my grade. And I remember after transferring to Ohio State, and I'm switching to exercise science from business. And I was bombing chem, like bombing it, dude. Not doing well at all. Science and I are not good friends. And I was like, I'm studying with this girl who's going to be a doctor. and she's getting like around the same grades as me. I'm like, I don't know if this is for me, man. So I remember calling my parents. My dad's highly educated. My dad actually just retired this past year, but he was an immigration lawyer. And then my mom going back getting her master's. Like, parents are highly educated, and I'm like, yeah, I'm the firstborn son, and I'm gonna drop out of college.
So you felt that pressure.
Yeah, and I call them. They're out to dinner, and I'm like, I gotta tell you guys something. They're like, okay, they talk to us. I'm like, I don't think school's for me right now. Right now. I was like, and I know how my dad is. I knew like if I was gonna tell him I was gonna drop out and pursue modeling, I knew I was gonna have to be like, I knew I was gonna have to have a backup plan. And my dad would be like, all right, so well, what if that doesn't work out? Which I totally respect. Yeah, like what? Like, what are you gonna do? So I got certified as a personal trainer. I've always, being active and working out is always like I always gravitated towards it. So I called him and I'm like, so I wanna, I talked to Chester, who was my agent in Cincinnati. I had an agency there for modeling. I was like, I talked to him. I was like, yo, do you think I could move to New York and model? He's like, I'll set up appointments. You'll have to fly up there and set everything up. You'll probably have to drop some weight because I was a big boy in college. And anyways, I called my parents and I'm like, yeah, like I think I'm gonna drop out and I'm gonna move to New York. Like Chester said, like he'll set up appointments up there. Like I want to try it. What do you guys think? And there was like a long pause on the phone, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm like sweating, like, oh God, what are they gonna say? And then my dad goes like, if you're 35 and you have kids, could you do it? I was like, no. He was like, well, then you should do it. Like, you should do it. Like, try it. See if you can do it. I was like, wow. Like, I had such a weight lifted off my shoulders, and like also like so much gratitude for that. And my mom was like, yeah, you could do it. Like, you got to figure stuff out, So like having my parents have always been on my team, They've had my back through a lot of stuff. So, like I went to New York. I met with some agencies. They were like, you got to drop weight. You got to drop like another 20 pounds. I don't know what I know now. I didn't know what I know now about like fitness and like how to cut weight properly and everything. I was eating like chicken salads with chicken. Like, it was just definitely not a healthy way of dropping weight. But I dropped weight. I got down to like 160 pounds and moved to New York, shot photos. And
from 200, how much were you weighing at the time?
I was like about 200 pounds.
And you dropped to 160. That's a lot of self-discipline.
Yeah, a lot of self-discipline. I was on the treadmill. For an hour, and then I was doing like some other cardio workouts for an hour. I was still at Ohio State at that point. Like, I was at the campus. I was living in the house with my boys, but I was more dialed in, with that. So I started just cutting weight.
Jumping back to your parents, how difficult would it have been to make that transition without the support of your parents?
Oh, major. It would be a totally different situation. I think it would have, I would have been like, mentally, I would have been kind of like, dang, should I do this? Like, am I going to do this? Like, am I really going to risk everything and drop out and just go to New York? I think that would have made it 10 times harder. That's what I mean. Like, my parents, like, and they're amazing. I can't thank them enough for like, setting me up this way and supporting me with like all the crazy stuff that I've done and like, like dealing with like what my brother and I put them through. Like, they're like living angels, like literally,
That's cool that you recognize that and you give them that credit.
Yeah.
So with with modeling itself, what are some of the brands that you're working for, and what's the world of modeling like? Because maybe Gabe back there, he might qualify. I definitely don't qualify as a model. Um, but walk us through what that life is like.
It's it's definitely not everything that people like it's made out to be to people. Like people are like, oh, you're modeling, like you're probably going to all these cool parties and like you're making all this money and blah, blah, blah. No, you're not, bro. Come on. You're not at all. Like it was like a struggle. You're struggling. Like at the beginning, unless you're like one in a million that they pluck you out of here and like they're like, all right, gonna be a next top model. That type of thing. It's like you gotta build your book, you gotta, you know, you shoot with all these photographers, try to build like your book, but you gotta also the hardest part is if you haven't been through enough stuff in your life. You know, if you've had just like your, you know, a normal, like comfortable life, you don't have any like, there's no grit, there's no like emotion, like extra emotion that you can add in for the camera, for the shot, if that makes sense. Like it's hard because it's hard to create that like energy through the camera. So for me, like at the beginning, it was kind of like a slow, you know, you're shooting a bunch, but it's like, how do I get emotion? How do I show emotion through my face?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like I can show emotion by smiling because I've always been like happy. Like, but how do I create that like edge? You know, like that mood.
So this wasn't just for still photography. This was also for motion.
This is like, well, I mean, for video and camera, but like also like you're moving, but like if they can snap you like that.
Gotcha.
So like for stills, but like, you know, laughing or moving and stuff like that. So for me, that was hard at first. You would be like, wow, that's a fake smile.
Yeah,
no, that's a fake laugh.
To emote on command, like to just be like, oh, you're jovial and you're happy and you're excited. Just go.
Yeah.
That's not natural. It's not
yeah.
natural at all.
Yeah. So that was weird. And it was awkward, and it's really awkward, you know, to be in. A lot of people are just like, I don't want to be in a photo, or I don't want to take photos or stuff like that, you know? Like, I mean, even for this, you know, for me, like at the beginning, it's like, I've never done this. So like, you're kind of like, you're awkward, you know? Like, so it's the same thing with the photos. Like, and that took a minute to like get comfortable with somebody with the photo, like, and they're constantly snapping photos and you're just like, all right. Like, and like when, you know, but it was New York was like a learning experience, but I didn't really get anything out of it. So the season ended. I didn't book any jobs. I didn't do anything. I just took photos and like went to a ton of castings. New York is huge with castings, so I was going to castings every day, but I wasn't booking anything because I was like a rookie. You know, there's a lot of like professional models there, and so. My booker was like, you should go to Miami. It's season down there now. So I came here. I was in the agency.
No, go ahead. I was just opening the text that you sent me earlier just so I could.
Okay. I was with I signed with an agency down here. So my booker in New York sent me sent my book down here, and then one of the bookers liked me, and so I went and signed with this agency, Mega. I don't think they're in existence anymore, but that's where my career like started to like, you know, I started to like book jobs and I started to take off. I shot with this guy Scott Tytler, and I'm actually gonna shoot with him again, like coming up, like because now I'm gonna get back and do dad stuff, young father stuff. But
so you're getting back into the world of modeling?
Yeah, I got somebody like cast me for something like through Instagram, and I did this Colombian job as a young dad with like little kids and stuff. It was cool.
Nice, man.
So I was like, you know what, maybe I should get back into this, just on the side for a sidekick. But yeah, so I signed with the agency and then shot with Scott, and then I was able to book jobs with those photos. You need a book, you need a portfolio, you need, you know, nice photos done by a nice, you know, a well-known photographer, somebody that's gonna make the photo pop and whatever, all the details. So Then I eventually worked with Abercrombie, which was cool because they would fly me from here to Columbus, Ohio, their home base, where they shoot all the e-commerce, all of that for the websites, for everything. They shoot it out of Columbus, Ohio. So like, I was 20. I was, my boys are still in college, like my brothers are like. So I would go back. I would shoot all day for their online shop, and then I would go to campus. I would go to Ohio State and like hang out with my buddies.
That's cool.
So that was cool. But I would do that once a month, usually for like 3 or 4 days. That would pay rent and stuff. So like everything else, you try to make ends meet. But you book jobs here and there. It was cool, and then that brought me, to my first summer in Miami. And they're like, "Look, there's no work here. It's way too hot. We don't shoot here. Makeup's gonna slide off. You're not gonna be able to shoot." So everybody goes other places. So my booker was like, "You should. You still need to like build like a lot of your book." And so he was like, "You should go to Istanbul. Like I've heard of Istanbul is like you can book some work there. Like I'm gonna get you with an agency." So I signed with this agency. And before I got there, they had already booked me on Men's Health, GQ, Cosmopolitan, like a bunch of like big name magazines. So I flew out there. Weird to land in a country where like it's not common for people to speak English there. So I get there, I get to the airport, I'm just like, where am I? Like, I'm 22, 21. 22. And there's 2 sides of Turkey. Like there's the Asian side and then there's the European side. So we flew into the Asian side, and then I'm driving across like in this big bus from the airport to the European side. And I remember like driving across this big bridge. I remember looking at the hillside, and it like I thought of like, you always see the favelas in Brazil and stuff like that. So I'm driving and I'm like, where am I going? Like it looked like run down, like housing like all upon this like massive hill. I was like, okay, well, here we go. Let's see how this goes. Get there, get to the model apartment. You're in the model, they say you open a model apartment. So you're living with like 4 other, 5 other, 6 other guys. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3 to a 1 bedroom. They just have beds. And then you're sharing 1 kitchen. So 1 kitchen, and you're living with maybe me as the American, maybe 1 other American, maybe not, Brazilian, Lithuanian, Russian, like from all over. So everybody has a different culture. Everybody has different ways of acting. Everybody has a different level of respect. So that was like a huge curveball. You're like, all right, how do I act with all these people?
Yeah, how do I behave with this guy versus this guy? This guy's offended, this guy's laughing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was a major learning experience for me, like a huge growth. And then just learning how to be by yourself in another country, and everybody's on the opposite time schedule. My parents are going to bed, I'm getting up. So everybody on this side of the world is, you barely get to talk to anybody. You have an issue, you're gonna have to figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
So no, it was cool. I went there, and then from there I went to Greece, spent some time in Greece. I also did Milan the second year with Istanbul again. I love Istanbul.
Why? What is it about Istanbul that you love so much? Because you told me the same thing via text. You're like, I love this country. What about it?
Istanbul is just honestly, I made friends there, and I actually had my best experiences there. And I still talk to some of the guys that I live with in those model housing. Some of them I've gone to see. So those friendships are still in existence. So those friendships that I made there, they're long lasting. And I still have these 2 brothers that took me in when I got kicked out of one of the agencies. There's these 2 brothers, and they, long story short, they have a family business. They have a house in it's called Bukita. There's these 3-4 Prince Islands, just south of the city of Istanbul. And one of the girls in the agency was dating one of the other brother, and then one of them they were like, "Yo, you want to just get like a bunch of models and just come down on the weekends?" I was like, "Yeah, duh." And like they were hooking it up. They were paying for it. Like they were paying for everything, paying for everybody to eat, drinks, whatever you want. So we would just get out of the city. Istanbul's a crazy city. It's like moving all the time. Like you try to walk across the street, you better run across the street because that cabbie does not care. He's gonna speed up. Like you're gonna get hit. So like it's a crazy city, but it would be nice to get out and go down to Bucata, like one of those small islands. Like these islands, they're horse-drawn buggies. Like there's no cars on them. It's horse-drawn buggies.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
completely different from what you were seeing here or in New York or Ohio. All of a sudden, you're on the other side of the planet. You have no support. You're trying to build these new relationships, and you're learning a new city. I mean, that you're 22 years old. Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what was hard about that time? Because you're living with 5 other dudes inside of an apartment. So what difficulties did you run into?
It was, it was like just trying to book job. Like, well, I mean, you're booking jobs, but you're not getting paid the same. So you're kind of working like you're like a hanger. That would be the best. And I think about this girl that literally has a hanger tattoo. She's like, I'm literally just a hanger for clothes. Like you just, because like you're there all day. You're there all day. You're just a hanger for the clothes. You know?
Just try on clothes and taking pictures and try on clothes and taking pictures.
Dude, yeah, I'll do like 100 outfits a day.
Wow. So one of the models got a hanger tattoo.
She had this hanger tattoo on her arm, and I was like, "What's that for?" She's like, "'Cause that's what we are." I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "That's so sad. Yeah, that's depressing." I was like, "I don't want to think about it like that."
So, and now you're diving back into it. Why did you get out of it the first time? And
yeah. So actually, this is an interesting like side of it that like a lot of people don't know. It's like kind of a broken industry in some regards in a lot of regards, but they try to take advantage of you. When you're younger and you're like bouncing around and you're trying to find yourself still, like this is a time, like your early 20s, you're trying to find yourself,
You're vulnerable and you're looking for the approval of others.
Yeah. So, they, people that have power in that, they kind of try to take advantage of you. And so, you get asked to, it really it comes down to like how you were, raised. Like probably like you got to have a strong backbone. You got to have been raised on like some morals too, to not like break under that pressure. Cause I know, that happens a lot. A lot of guys, like they came out, Vogue wrote an article about it like years back. Like photographers taking advantage or like, trying to touch boys, like, young boys. That happened with like a photographer that I shot with. Same thing. We were doing digitals and then, they get like close to you and then he was like trying to touch me and I'm like, dude, don't do that. I was like, don't touch me. I got up and I walked out. I left the house. He lives in Miami. Super top name photographer. My booker set it up. Yeah, go see this guy.
You're even hesitant to say his name.
Bruce Weber. Yeah.
Yeah, because this has probably not only happened to you, it's probably happened to other people.
I know other guys that it's happened to,
And he has a lot of power.
Yeah. That's the problem. And like, I don't know, like they don't care. Like he probably still books jobs, And like this guy, he has 2 houses up on Golden Beach. Like I was going, like my booker, I went up, booker set it up. I went up there and it's weird because it's like that guy looks like Santa Claus, I'm like, God, Santa Claus is trying to touch me. This is weird. Like I'm out.
Yeah.
So
why do you feel like some people would just let it happen because they don't know what else to do?
Because they think it's gonna make their career. So if you're trying to make it in modeling, like you wanna shoot with the best people, and you want, because it's a lot of politics. You know, if this photographer recommends you for the job and he's shooting the campaign for Calvin Klein or Ralph, you know, then you're gonna get the job. You know, so, but if, you know, some people, like, I remember that happening in Istanbul. Like, if you let, I'll just be outright. There's one agency, The Man, and if you let the owner of the agency suck you off, you would be on the cover of GQ the following week over there. They're like that, like I said, but it's always that power thing. It's like they want to have power over you. It's like a twisted thing, man. You know, it's stuff that a lot of people don't know about. But I mean, you hear about that in Hollywood. And
like the casting couch and how certain people move up.
People screw their way to the top. You know what I mean? But that's real. Like, I saw that in person. Like, I was like, no, I'm not down for this. So that's actually what kind of, like, I was like, you know what? My booker, I flew out to LA. I met with Tyrese Gibson's acting manager. Because I was like, maybe I'll go to LA and like start acting, you know. I thought it could be fun. My booker was like, yeah, like you could be good at it. So I was like, yeah, why not? So I flew out there, and then I come out there and my I was staying with one of my booker's old, you know, models that used to work with him. He works a lot out there. And then my booker comes out like on a whim, and then I'm there. I always had like a kind of feeling like, you know, I was like, yeah, you claim, you know, to have all these girlfriends, but I really don't think so. And what was it? You know, we were, you know, over there, weed was legal at this point, so you know, we were able to go to walk in a dispensary, first time in a dispensary, like, yo, this is cool. Like, what am I gonna get? So we went to the dispensary, got some weed, chilled, we're hanging out, then pass out on the couch. You know, we're sharing you know, it's a 1-bedroom and a big couch. And we're like sharing the couch. I'm one way, he's one way. And then I'm like, I'm passed out. And then I'm waking up, and this dude is like, you know how, I don't know, there's some way people get off by like rubbing up against other people or touching people. You know what I mean? You guys are probably like, Jesus.
They get angry, right?
Huh?
Like they get angry. You mean get off?
No, he's saying get off, like sexually
They get off. Yeah, they sexually get off from it.
Yeah, like he's getting off. He's getting turned on by rubbing on something who's sleeping.
Yeah, so I wake up to that, and the guy's
Choking
the chicken, bro.
Choking the chicken? Whacking the wizard.
Yeah.
So wait, and what was your response to that?
I was just like, yo, what the fuck? He was like, what? I was like, all right. I'm just like, and then I just like went back to sleep. And then I
wait. You just went back to sleep. What are you?
Bro,
I gotta clarify this.
Yeah. I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, yo, what the
stopped.
fuck? Yeah. And then because what he noticed, I woke up, and then he was just there. And then I'm like, what the fuck? And then I'm like, and then he's just like, I don't know. And then I'm
like acting like confused.
Yeah, bro. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, I want to beat the shit out of you, really.
Yeah, of course.
So but I'm still like, and I was still like, yeah, I was still, you know, I'm not where I am now.
Of
like
course.
now I would take you out back, like whoop your ass. But this is like, I was like, and this was my career in my hands too. And like, you know, now I understand why, you know, you don't want to break your moral compass for that. So yeah, the next morning I remember waking up, and I was like, God, I just met with Tyrese Gibson's acting manager, like this big name, like blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, and like my booker who like booked me on all these big jobs, like now he's like some like perv freak, like what?
Yeah, what's going on?
And so like,
did you talk to anybody about all these like these different scenarios that were happening to you? Did you discuss them with anyone, or was this
my parents, like I said?
And what did that's good that you were open enough to talk to your parents.
My parents know everything.
That's
sometimes
awesome.
they're like, sheesh, like but maybe that's like too much, like maybe we don't, but like I said.
And what was their response?
They were just like, oh my God, we're so sorry, like what, like You know, because I was kind of like a mess the next day after that.
I mean, I
I'm
would
I'm
imagine.
still like super young. Like, you know, I was still super young. And so I was just like, and I felt like everything, like everything was crashing down, you know? I was like, gosh, like I'm not, like, how am I gonna how am I gonna go back to modeling? Like, what am I gonna do? Like, I was just like
Because this is the guy who's
freaking out.
booking
It was how, like, I was booking a lot. I booked Abercrombie. I
through,
booked like
through
all
this
this
guy.
shit. Yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna have to switch agencies. Like, I'm gonna have to do this. I'm gonna do that. And yeah, I remember just calling my parents on the phone, just crying and be like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm freaking out. They're like, well, just like, you know, I don't know, go grab your bags and then just like fly home. So that's what I did. I got my bags and flew back to Miami, and then I told the agency, I was like, yo, I'm out. I'm done. I'm switching. And then I went and met with Next and signed with Next. I was with Next for like, I don't know, like a year. And then I was like, you know what? I'm in a weird gap. And then that's what phased me out, kind of.
And is that when you transitioned to boxing, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've been boxing to be in shape for modeling since I was 20. Uh, and I was like taking classes back then, and then like working with some guys that are like, you know, I looked up to. And now like some, you know, I've coached with some of them, you know, which is cool. Come full circle. But
Why boxing? What do you find in boxing that you don't find in other aspects of like physical exercise?
I mean, yeah, I'm a very intense person.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just a way for me. Like I'm one of those people that has like my battery doesn't shut off. Like I'm very like energetic all the time. Like my mom jokes that I ran out of her. Like my mom's like, I did not give birth to that boy.
He sprinted out.
He ran out of me and didn't stop. He never stopped. So
That's awesome.
yeah. 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 She would say that all the time. Like he ran out. He did not stop. Yeah, and so like for me just being super active, but like also like after the accident too, like I mean, well, that's taking it back. Like, but
That's okay.
that's how I realized like how much boxing was like needed that in my life, because you know it helps. It's a stress reliever for me. Back before the accident, it was more of like all right, this is gonna keep me in tip top shape. For boxing is like makes you lean and shredded.
Yeah.
Boxing doesn't make you like bulky ever.
Yeah.
Boxing is like lean, shred, build, 6-pack, everything that you want for modeling. So like for me, that was kind of like the main focus. Like I was like doing it and learning from those guys, and like because I was using it not to fight, because I don't want to get hit in the face. My face is what's gonna make me money.
Of course.
So I was learning just technique and punching. And then so I was just hitting bags like all the time, like every day, once a day, twice a day, to be in shape for modeling. And then after my accident happened, you know, and when I was already coaching it, I realized how much of like an anxiety reliever it was. And like I just have a lot of energy in myself. Like I was going back to like when I ran out of my mom. Like I haven't stopped. I have so much energy, and sometimes when you have a lot of energy, it can get directed in like the wrong way mentally. Like for me, anxiety. You know, like if I have like all like if I haven't burned off the energy of the day, I'll be anxious.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be like nervous or anxious just because like all that energy bottled up inside me, it hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah. There's no outlet.
Yeah, some people are just chill, like they're more sedentary.
Yeah. And that's something I go over with people all the time. It's like they're coming to me, or before, I'm not seeing patients right now, but they would come to me and they would talk to me about their anxiety. And the first question is like, what are your outlets? Like, where are you letting go of this nervous energy? And so many people are living sedentary lifestyles. They're probably high strung or high energy people, but then they're not putting it out anywhere. So what happens is their mind just spins, and they start worrying about all these different issues. It's like, well, your body also needs to move to let some of this out, to let it go. And so, I mean, I try to recommend anything I can. I mean, even just just go outside and walk, people. Just walk.
Yeah.
Just try to get outside for a little bit. But for sure, any HIIT training, any sort of physical exercise, weightlifting, yoga, I mean, it doesn't matter, but you just need to get out. So you're saying that before you were using it just as a tool to help you stay lean. Now, what does boxing mean to you? Because it's part of your life.
Yeah. Now, now it's like therapy. Like the heavy bag is a therapist for me. Like after I box, like a prime example of like how I am after is like I was training this guy, and I had boxed for like, I don't know, hour and a half prior to the session, prior to like having to go train him, because I had a break and I was like, I'm gonna box today. And I went and he's like, you're so calm. Like, he's like, this is great. Like, what did you do before this? I was like, I boxed for a while, you know? He's like, you should do that every day.
Because you were much calmer.
I was like, damn, okay. All right. But no, it makes sense because like for me, it's like if I can release even like weightlifting, like I love weightlifting, like don't get me wrong. But boxing puts me in like a mental state that is not like anything else. It like quiets all the noise in my head. And it makes me like I can be like stable and calm, and nothing's really gonna irk me after that. I'm like try to rile me up. If I've exhausted myself through boxing for an hour and a half, you're probably not gonna. Like, I'm probably gonna be like, okay, I can move on with the bullshit. Like it's okay.
What's your mindset now? Like when you're like, I took a class with you on Monday.
Yeah.
Dope. By the way, I really enjoyed it. I'll be back.
Appreciate that.
You take great command of the room. You could tell you keep everybody motivated. And then you also mentioned a couple of times, like, count through it. Like, just count. Tell your body what to do. Because I think people get frustrated with the combinations. You're like 2, 2, 3, 6. And then people are like, oh, what do I do now?
Where do my hands go?
Yeah. So what does it mean to you, I guess, to stand in front of the room and to have command of that room? And I don't know, what do you get out of coaching, right?
Yeah. It's gosh, I don't know where to start. I really love being able to give back through the coaching. Like to have people, because I know a lot of people I have one-on-one clients that just want to hit mitts. Just because they like had a rough day and they want to like release that stress, and I'm like, yo, okay, like, cool, like I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's awesome to be able to give back in a way that's like it promotes, being active, being physical, like, and like people. It gives people like a joy outlet. Like, you could be like being an instructor, like you could be an instructor that is just like, oh, okay, like I'm just going to come collect a check. Like this is going to help me pay my bills or whatever. Like for me, it's like, I love coaching. Like for me, it's like, I always feel great after the class. Like, and after everybody leaves like super like exhausted, but happy, like a smile on their face. And like, to me, that is like, that's success. Like, it's like, I'm happy that I'm able to give that to people. And that's why, like, I feel like showing up in, when you're coming to coach, like, don't show up like half-assing it or like just, thinking about, oh, like what happened before, like, with like all the shit with my bike. Like I could come and coach class like, oh, woe is me, like, oh, like, or I could come in and be like, check, like, leave that shit at the door. Leave that shit at the door, come in, do your shit for an hour, and then you could probably gonna leave in a totally different state of mind, So for me, like, that's how I wanna run the room and like keep it structured, because it's like, if it's structured and I have control of it, then that can control. Then it's not sloppy. Then people can leave and have got what I was trying to provide them. You know, a good workout, stress relief, and then like, you know, good like camaraderie. Like, and like, you know, I love that when everybody in the room gets like, they're like cheering each other on. Like I have that in like a lot of gyms.
I
like,
tried to cheer on a girl next to me. She looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, all right, disregard. I'll just go back to my bag.
Oops.
Like I knocked her back. I was like, come on, let's go. And she kind of looked at me like, don't touch my bag, bro.
That's my bag.
Yeah. I was like, sorry. I apologize, lady. I was just trying to help you out, but never mind.
Motivate you. Come on.
Yeah. It was actually pretty funny. Yo, anatomy is probably, and I'm sorry, I know you work there and I know you work at other gyms.
Yeah.
Every gym is different. I've been to a lot of gyms. I'm in love with anatomy. I'm in love with the moment I walk in, there's a towel handed to me. I was going to a gym before where they're like, hey, do you need any towels? And did you bring a towel with you? And if you said no, they hand you a towel, and next thing you have $10 charged to your account.
Oh, man.
But it's
Nickel
cool.
and dime you.
Yeah, nickel and dime you. So you walk in an anatomy, there's a towel for you. You go to the bathroom, there's mints, there's slippers, there's a big towel. The classes are dope. They have awesome instructors like you. They have the sanctuary back there, and that's where I'm heading right now. So I know that you post every once in a while about jumping in freezing cold water once a day. Tell me a little bit about cold plunging and what it means to you.
Oh my gosh, this is a great question. I try to do cold plunge at Anatomy every morning. So I'll do. They have such an awesome, like you said, sanctuary.
Yeah.
They have like infrared sauna, which is great for, you know, heavy toxins in your body. Actually, it heats you up from the inside out, not like a regular sauna. Steam room, and then they have the cold plunge. So for me, the cold plunge was just like, it's like another battle, you know, and it's kind of like how I feel after boxing, but like, it's like how I feel after boxing, but like on steroids. Like that is like the cold plunge is like the feeling like boxing, you can't stir me up. If I do a cold plunge, you're not gonna get anything in a negative emotion out of me the rest of the day. And the hardest thing, if you do it first thing in the day, like for me, first thing in the morning, I do it 5 a.m. 5 a.m.
Before a workout, before anything.
Yeah.
I tried that once.
It's better.
It's hard.
And it's better to do it, everything I've been reading is way better to do it before you work out. You don't want to do it after you work out, because if you do it after you work out, you're negating all the inflammation that you actually want for the growth of the cells.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just, you know, the one in Midtown, there's this awesome guy, Orestes. He like works there. And he's always back there like getting towels and everything. And so he knows, he's like, how many minutes are we doing today? How many minutes are we doing? I love that guy. And that's it. And going back to anatomy, the culture, like the people that are there, it's vibe. It's a vibe.
It's a good vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. But cold plunge, I do 5 to 10 minutes in it. And I usually have headphones in. So I literally go all the way neck deep in, just my mouth above the water and my ears. And I would go 5 to 10 minutes in there. And it's just like, it's like meditating too. You know, you have to control your breath. It's like a 10-second inhale, 10-second exhale, like, and that really just makes you calm in itself. But you have to control your breathing. Everybody gets in. I see them get in, and they're like, yeah, they're freaking out. I'm like, dude, you're gonna kick yourself out of this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I go straight when I go in. I mean, I usually take a couple of deep, faster breaths. You might even hear a "ooh," but yeah, because it's rough. What's cool is this. There's a couple of things that I'm learning about myself in the cold plunge. Number one, especially if you're alone, right? This is a decision you have to make to get into freezing cold water. Nobody wants to. Nobody wants to do it. You don't get up and say, "Yeah, absolutely, like exactly what I want to do." It takes a moment for you to make the decision to commit, right? And you have to break past that. Some people I've seen, they tippy toe in the water, or they just don't want to go in.
Yeah.
Then once you're in, your brain immediately is telling you, get the fuck out. Like, you don't belong in here.
Evacuate.
Get out. Evacuate immediately. And so what I tell people, this is activating your sympathetic nervous system. The amygdala is part of the brain that is sending, it's your fight or flight response. And you're triggering that immediately by jumping in freezing cold water. Now you're able to use breath work to get through it. So you start breathing, just like you said. Take deep, slow breaths. Breathe in, breathe out. I want to do events where I'm teaching people to use cold water to help them break past anxiety, to help them to trigger that response that a lot of times will send you into a panic attack if you're not in cold water. What do you do with that? What do you do with that feeling where your brain is literally saying, run, get out. This is not good for you. But then once you could breathe through it and start realizing it's just cold water.
Yeah.
It's just cold water. It's nothing else. And then if you zone out even more and you're just focusing on breath, I'm just breathing in and breathing out. Then your mind goes back to, but your hands are numb, but it's really cold. And then you escape that again and you go back to just breathe. Just breathe. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. I start counting tiles on the wall sometimes because I want to distract myself. And then I'll go back to the tiles on the wall. Then my brain is like, it's getting cold in here. You got to get out. And then I'm like, hold on. Let me go back to the breath. Let me just go back to the breath. And usually I set my alarm for like 4 minutes, 4 minutes, something like that. The alarm goes off. I dunk myself. There's people always in there sometimes. And I'll dunk myself completely submerged right when I get in, blow out all the air, come up just like you, like right here up to my chin. I'll breathe, go for the 3 minutes. But before I get out, I dunk myself again and just let go of the air and sit underneath the water. You know how when you're a kid, you blow out all your air and you just sit for a while? And I just sit at the bottom and then I'm like, all right, cool, now it's time. Then I get out. What's up. It's like a baptism every day. Yeah. It's a baptism every day. What's also cool, we were talking about encouraging other people, like in the boxing class. What's really awesome is when you find somebody in the cold plunge that kind of doesn't want to do it, but you just say, hey, I'm coming in with you. Let's just stay together for this long. And I've had multiple people say, I've never stayed in that long before. Wow, and it just shows you the power of community, right?
Yeah.
And so when there's somebody else there with you going through a struggle and you have somebody that's there side by side with you, shoulder to shoulder, all of a sudden you last longer, right? Community is so important. So I'm a huge believer in community, support groups, friendships, and anything that brings people together. And that's why I love HIT. I love HIT training, and I love group classes. I love group training just because of that reason. Because people will, just like in that cold plunge where they'll stay a little bit longer and they'll just accept the pain a little bit more and go a little bit further. It's the same in a HIT class where somebody next to me, not that lady who I was encouraging with the boxing, but most people respond positively to the people around them when they're in that group training atmosphere. Yeah, man, we had a boot camp. I don't know if you know that or not. We had a boot camp that we were doing for a while right here in Phillips Park in the Gables.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, we were doing it last year. We stopped in the summer. We were supposed to restart in January, and I was just talking to my buddy, Alex Roca. He works at Aerofit Gym. I don't know if you're familiar with Aerofit.
I've heard of Aerofit.
It's a private like boutique style personal training gym.
Yeah.
Shout out to Aerofit. We accept sponsors here. Anatomy, you guys too. Nah. But yeah, I mean, Alex and we were leading the boot camp, and it was just cool because we were building that community, and it's something I want to get back to again. I'm not looking to open a gym. I'm just looking to do things to bring people together because I know what that means for all of us, right? And I want to bring people like you who are hype, who bring good energy, who are positive to lead, right? To lead and to it's like you bring your audience, I use my platform, and then it's a win.
Cultivate a magical experience.
Right?
Yeah.
Because all you're doing is you're just bringing positivity to a community through exercise, and then I just want to show people how that helps your mental health. All these, because at the end of the day, all of this is about improving ourselves from a mental standpoint. if your perspective sucks when you come out of a motorcycle accident and you're learning how to walk again and you're just very negative and you're pessimistic and you just, everything is woe is me, then guess what? Your outcomes are going to be piss poor. You might not even recover
time.
completely every time.
Every time.
You go through some shitty experience with modeling or whatever it is. And if that overcomes you, now there's no coming back.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in community. I'm a big believer in just supporting one another. And I saw that you wrote on your Instagram profile that you are a maverick of positivity.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Optimism. Yeah. No,
Of
I mean,
optimism. Maverick of optimism. Man.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't know. For me, it's just, I like never cried as a baby. I've just always I've always been this way.
Yeah.
I've always been, through ups and downs. Like there's just, I don't know. It's just, I've always been happy. Like I like when I feel so bad for the people that like struggle with depression and like feel, like I don't know what, I have sympathy for them, but I don't know what it, like, I don't know what that is. Like I've always, like I said, I've always been, no matter how, like what place I'm in life, like even like those, some of those experiences that I've had before that I spoke a little bit on, some people that throws them for a spin. Yeah. And like, for me, it's like, okay, I was just like, I have like I was talking with somebody recently, like, that always like, worries about stuff. And I'm just like, it's nice to have like a short-term memory. Like I just choose to have a short-term memory. I don't know that some people, obviously a lot of people hold on to stuff. Me, I don't hold on to anything, like to me, it's just like, and that's why I'm happy all the time. Like, cause people like will bring up something like, don't you remember this? I'm like, no, I don't even actually remember it. It doesn't even hold space in my brain.
Yeah.
I just try to focus on the positives every day. And that also helps like with, like in the mornings I do a gratitude. I write like a page. I've been doing it for almost a year now. I do my meditation and then I write a page and then I go to the cold plunge. But the page I do, the first half is like gratitude. Like what I'm grateful for. So just bullet points. Like it doesn't have to be any fancy schmancy thing.
What are some things you're grateful for?
So what I'm grateful for is I'm grateful for this brand new day of abundance and opportunity. That's kind of how I started. And then I say like I'm grateful for the classes and clients that I have and that I'm able to coach. I'm grateful for, my motorcycle. I'll do everything. So like from interpersonal relationship stuff all the way to like the basic stuff, like food on my plate, roof over my head. So I'll like make it to like about a half page. And then the second half, I write like what I am. So I am bullet points and then list for the second half.
We got to hear, what are you? What are some things you write? I am.
So like the first thing I'll like write, like I am abundant, I'm blessed, I am resourceful, I'm confident, I am attracting lots of love, I'm attracting money, I'm living in my dream house. I have like a whole list of that. So I go down like all the stuff that I am, because I'm a big believer that like what you say you are. Like what speaking is like, it has like spells to me. Like, you're like creating your own reality, sort of. So like, and how that's gone for me is like, it's literally like, like even to the having this bike, like no matter how you end up with it, it's pretty wild. Like some of the stuff that like I've attracted by just saying that. Like I was writing like, cause this was me driving like the old bike. And this was, one of the bullet points was like, I'm driving a brand new MV Augusta, like my dream bike. And like now it's parked outside of here, So I never thought that I would be driving that, not at this stage in my life.
Just the power of words.
Yeah, the power
of the thoughts that you put out.
And you attract it. Bro, like, yeah.
It's funny. So many people talk about moving in silence, right? About not speaking things until they're actually a reality.
Yeah.
And I've done nothing but the opposite, and it's worked for me. Like, hey, I'm going to do this. Hey, I'm going to build a podcast. I build a podcast. Hey, I'm going to start a boot camp. Because the more I share my idea, the more people come on board because they believe in my vision, right? Because right now I'm telling you about the boot camp. I don't have a solid plan to bring it back, but we're bringing it back, right? And so just this is a commitment right here. My words to this mic, to whoever's listening out there, and to you, to Gabe, I'd rather speak it into existence because then I'm going to have to be a man of my word and follow through, right? Or, damn, I really need somebody to help me with the finances of this business because I'm not a business major and this is the first time I own my own practice. I've only been in the game 2 years and there's things that I really need to learn. All of a sudden, my buddy Willie's working side by side with me.
So cool, though.
Yeah, and I just told it to Polo, who you met out there, and Maria. We were having an end of the year meeting. I said it to them. I was like, I really need to find somebody because I know I can't do this by myself. And I know where my weaknesses are. And this is the type of person I need is they need to do this, this, and this. And all of a sudden, so it's just cool. I'm a firm believer, just like you, that words have, you could call it a spell. You could say words have power, the power of the tongue. But I definitely believe speaking things into existence is a practice that I unconsciously have developed, and I don't fear speaking something or speaking about something, and maybe we fall short.
Yeah,
that's all good. We pivot and we find a different way. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean that you're not living up to your word. It just means that life happened and you have to readjust. So
it's like the saying, like, shoot for the moon. If you don't make it, you land among the stars.
Yeah, same.
You know, I going off what you said. I like what you said. Like, you know, being a man of your word, because like a lot of people blow smoke. You know, so you saying that, like, yeah, like me speaking into an existence is like, that's great, because I feel like you can't trust anybody. They say they're gonna do something, they don't do anything.
Yeah,
but like, you know, people like you know, I know you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know, I have respect for you. You know, like, you know, the short time that I've known you, I'm like, yeah, you're obviously a man of your word. You know, you say you're gonna do it, you do the thing.
Yeah,
you know,
it's action. You have, because I just believe that so many people hesitate to take action because they want perfection. They want to make sure everything is planned out perfectly. And I've learned, I want to say recently, man, I want to say in the last 3 years since I opened up this practice, that it was more so like, forget about the whole plan, start moving and readjust as you go.
Yeah.
You're going to hit walls. You're going to fail multiple times along the way. It's all good.
Audible.
That's exactly that's the word that you told me earlier. I said, yeah, I got fired from UM as a professor, and all of a sudden I opened this practice, and the first thing that came out of your mouth was, you audibled, bro. Yeah. And I was like, that's true. It is an audible. Yeah. You're a quarterback. You're there. You see the defense is lined up a certain way. You're like, hold up. You know, running up the middle is probably not a good plan right now. We could definitely throw a bomb. Yeah. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Is there anything that we've left out, something that we haven't talked about that you find that you want to put out there? Actually, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Because I feel like your life, you're shifting, right? You're shifting a lot. You're getting back into modeling. You're still coaching a lot. Where do you see your life going over the next year, 2023 in December? And where do you think, I'm going to give you one of these typical job interview questions, which is, where do you see your life like 5 years from now?
Oh, man.
Speak it into existence.
Yeah. All right. Well, here we go. Okay. No, what?
Choose wisely.
Yeah, because it's gonna be me in a year, right? It's gonna happen. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, probably though. Like, actually, it will.
Yeah.
You know, because everything I've spoken to exists is kind of like it. It doesn't happen overnight.
It doesn't. Everybody
wants it to be a moment, like in the moment. No, but like as I've done that, you know, it has panned out that way. But I get hit up about, like, you know, not that I want to be, that I've aspired to be on a reality TV show, but I wanted to, I always get hit up for them. So I'm like, you know what, that could be fun. Like I'm definitely like like Jim Carrey, Yes Man. Have you guys seen Jim Carrey?
I have,
Yes Man? Okay, so like that's kind of how I am. I'm like,
all right, let's
if
do it.
yeah, that's cool. Like, cause it's gonna be a growing experience. It's gonna be a learning experience.
What has
Like,
stopped you up to this point from doing a reality show?
no, I mean, I literally, I got asked to do one, and then I went through the whole process, and then it was just like, chose, it didn't pan out
Gotcha,
in the universe. So, but like then then I realized it didn't pan out because like I learned more stuff about that show, and then I was like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't do it.
I didn't belong on there.
Like because like some of the stuff scam me too. But it's a show that happened and went through. But I have another one that I got hit up for, so I was like, you know what? Like, why not? Screw it. Like, if I can add it in some month at a time, like, it'll be a cool, like, experience. So for me, I'm like, yeah. So they hit me up on Instagram, and then I replied, filled it out, and so, we'll see. But that one's supposed to be on, like, a major network, so I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, if I get picked for it, that would be cool.
Awesome.
If not, I'm just gonna, run up the scene at Rumble, because Rumble's about to open up too.
What's up with Rumble? You've hyped up Rumble a lot. I've never been.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it. Actually, my first class is Friends and Family on this Friday. So, if anybody wants to go, 5 p.m. on Friday, this coming Friday, yeah.
Wait, this Friday, this week? Today's
this
Wednesday.
Week, yeah.
Oh, 24th, February 24th.
Yeah.
That means you heard that. You got to get this episode out like now.
This Friday, yeah. ASAP.
No, that's cool.
But no, it's gonna be great. Like I'm really looking forward to like coaching with them because Rumble's such a big name, and it's a cool platform. Like there's a lot of like a lot of steam behind it. Like it's got they're going like all across the country now at this point. But we're in a big city. Like Miami is like they opened up New York, then they did LA. Both of them strong, and they franchise it, so it's like in Philly, like a bunch of other places. But Miami is like a mecca, Miami's a mecca for
a lot of things, huh?
So like this is like this will be like a massive venture here. So I feel blessed to be like on the team, and it's like an all-star stud lineup of people. So it's all like we're already like a family. All the training that comes into it. But it's a different level of things. You're the DJ, you're the light person, you're the instructor, you're also controlling both slides, you're running 2 sides of the room. It's like you're running 4 things at once.
I got to check it out.
It's wild.
Yeah?
It's wild, yeah. Definitely have you out for a class with you guys.
You feel ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready, man.
Awesome.
I'm ready. It's definitely scary right now, to be honest.
Why? Why do you say it's scary?
Well, it's like, dude, I've never taught something like this in my whole life. Like a lot of people can't teach this. It's the tryout. You try out and then you're practicing. We've been practicing for months. You make time for it. And then it's like you're on stage. Like the spotlight is on you.
Yeah, I've been to some gyms where it's obvious that it's very corporate. And it doesn't come across as natural, but then I've been to other gyms where you can still be yourself and deliver whatever it is that they're expecting of you, but through your own style.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it, I went to F45, right?
Okay.
And it was whack, man. The workout itself was good, but like the cues and the trainers and everything that was going on around the room, I was like, man, this feels so corporate. It doesn't feel like, and I love the HIIT gym, and hey, all respect to Mark Wahlberg, but I just felt like it was falling a little flat. It's good for somebody who's just getting into working out.
Yeah.
It's a good, the workout itself is good. It was just
you got to be there in your own mind, you know? Like the trainer, the trainer's not, it's not a coach. It's just somebody that manages it. You know what I mean? Because my roommate, he used to coach at one of them. Yeah. But he coaches now at a couple other places, has a bunch of clients. But he used to work at one up north, and he's like, I'm done with this. Yeah. You know, it's not, cool relationships with people, but it's not that type of gym. Rumble is like, you know, it's a totally different thing. You're on stage with everybody. It's like fun. Like, you know, you got to have, like, it's all personality. You're literally creating a show for everybody. So it's not like everybody, you got to direct the workout, but you also got to entertain everybody.
Yeah.
You know, it's a hot mic and you're talking to everybody running through it.
No, but it was cool. I mean, like I said, when I took the class on Monday, I felt like you had great command of the room, and it was like, even the music, the tempo of the music that you chose for the warm up, everything I could tell was like, oh, this is very methodical. This was thought out because it was like the beats per minute for each song were going along with the rhythm that you wanted from us. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like every aspect of it. I was like, all right, cool. This guy, he really put thought into this from beginning to end, which is important.
Yeah.
Right. You're leading a room to motivate people. And if you can use the music to your advantage, totally use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
And it's so important to keep them hype. And also, like, the choice of music also matters. You're in Miami, so being culturally aware of what music works in what room. Like, the music that you use in Miami isn't going to be the same music that you use in Ohio.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Right?
Yeah.
You take the music.
Damn right.
You take some reggaeton beats up there, and they're gonna be like, yeah, one or two songs. You throw three of them, they're like, yo, what is going on?
Yeah, they're gonna be so lost. What happened? Who took over?
Yeah. No, or they'll be like, damn, Cam left to Miami, he came back, he thinks he's Hispanic. What's going on? And so, what about 5 years from now?
5 years from now.
How old are you right now, Cam?
I'm 30.
You're 30. All right, cool.
30.
I got a decade on you. I'll be 40 this year.
30.
30.
Yeah. Dang. But yeah, you have young energy too.
Yeah. I'm going to be 16 forever. It's all good.
Yeah. I think
I'm
that's me too. Yeah. Yeah. Salute to that. I'm down. Gosh. I don't know, really. No, I mean, like, everybody's like, yo, you know, because I've been in the fitness market for so long here. People are like, yo, when are you going to open up your own gym? When are you going to do this? And I'm like, I don't know if I want to open up a gym.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know what I want. Like, I'm just kind of like, I have goals. I have stuff that I want to do. But, like, I don't know. I'm just kind of like floating through. Everything is just on an upward trajectory right now. It's always been that way. It's always like sub out this gym for this gym, or like sub out this client for like a more top tier client. Like, it's always for me, it's always just a level up.
Yeah.
Always do better than I did yesterday. You know, always put one foot in front of the other, and just put my best foot forward, you know? So I know all of it's going to work out. Like, I've always known that. I always feel that way. I'm never worried that stuff is, not going to pan out for me. So I don't know. I think, I would like to have traveled to like a couple other countries. That's kind of one of the big things, I think, in that time frame. I want to have lived, moved around the world a little bit.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you. I definitely wanted. I was actually just planning a trip later on this year.
Where are you gonna go?
We were between Lima, Peru, and Spain, and we were having a whole discussion that we're gonna meet up tonight to see where we're going. So,
oh, that sounds sweet.
Yeah, I was arguing I was like, do you guys want more culture shock? So we should go to Lima, Peru. If you guys want good food, cuisine, we go to Spain. I've never been to Spain, but I've never been to Peru either, but I've been all over South America.
Have you heard of I have some friends that went down to
Cusco,
to Peru for ayahuasca ceremony. Have you heard of those?
Of course I have. Yeah, of course.
Have you ever done one?
No.
Gosh, that's something I want to do.
I don't know if I would do ayahuasca. People like urinate on themselves. And, like there's maybe some other
You're
things.
like, I'm not down.
Yeah, there's
Am I gonna have to wear a diaper?
People have bad trips, man. Like I think I would definitely consider the chemical substance that I would want to have some sort of experience with, and I can't say for sure. Ayahuasca is one of them.
Yeah, interesting. Because
I'm not trying to feel like I'm dying. Like, I don't know.
And it's like a long experience. I've heard like 9 hours.
I'm good.
My buddy who
What
he's
if
like,
you-
no.
What if you bad trip
Not for
for
me.
9 hours?
Yo, you learn stuff about yourself.
All right, I'll videotape you while you're bad tripping. You tell me what
Don't attract that to me. I'm gonna have a great trip.
when you come
I'm
back.
taking on none of that
I'm
energy.
like, yo, write notes. Let me know what you learned. That's it. Good.
I'll take a journal mid trip. Oh yeah, Adrian said I gotta have notes for him. Okay. Oh.
Not maybe I'll consider some other things. Not ayahuasca. Not ayahuasca.
Gosh, it helps, but it's gotten people from like an alcoholic to like, off of that. One of my old clients who's like ran a bunch of nightclubs in Canada did ayahuasca in Peru and dropped his opioid addiction. Like I've heard that it's called mother ayahuasca because it's basically like you're going down a hallway. And you're going down a hallway. It's a bunch of doors. You're walking down the hallway, and then the mother opens up the door. Do you want to deal with this issue? You look in, it's like your addiction, this or this, that. And then if you want to deal with it, then you open that doorway, like can of worms, and you dive right in and got to face it head on.
You know what I'm seeing right now in my mind? You ever seen Dragon, the Bruce Lee story?
No.
You haven't? There's a scene where he's fighting this gladiator. It's like he goes into a dream state, and there's all these mirrors, and there's this huge samurai that he has to fight. And it's like that's his, I guess, mother ayahuasca, whatever it is. And it's just a bizarre scene where that's like his worst nightmare. That's what I'm picturing right now. So I'm gonna walk into a room full of mirrors, and then he doesn't know which way the samurai is coming from because it's a room full of mirrors. So every time he's punching something, he's just punching a mirror, and he's not hitting anything. And before you know it, he turns around, the samurai is staring him in the face. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm good. I kind of don't want to face death until I have to. So
interesting.
But thanks for that suggestion.
I will let you know. I'll let you know because it's definitely on my bucket list.
Awesome.
It's definitely gonna get done.
All right. Cool. Yeah. Let me know when you do that. Take pictures. Bring me back a postcard. Hey, Cam. It's been a pleasure, man.
Adrian, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
I
man,
really
I know
enjoyed this.
we began as strangers. I feel like I know you a little bit more now.
Yeah, this is man, cool.
I knew you had good energy before I met you, so I kind of anticipated this conversation. I don't know, just being like this, being uplifting.
Yeah.
I hope people get something out of this conversation.
Me too.
And nothing, man. You're more than welcome to be here whenever you want.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you so much for having me on here. And what's up, everybody?
All right, bro. Take it easy, man. Wrapping it up, people. Take it easy.